Okay, hello, I'm Mark Kavanaugh, and welcome to the second set of meetings we're having on the iPad initiative. We have a small but enthusiastic audience. Keep it down. And essentially what today is going to be about is to show us, it's a review, first of all, the iPad initiative and the M-Learning initiative, as we're calling it. And then go further than we did in the first session, where we kind of talked about what we might do and show you some of the things that we have done, and to kind of give you a sense of what you can expect in the spring when you encounter your classes. And also for instructors who are going to be watching this video, or in the audience here, for them to know kind of the pattern that we're looking for. Now there's no, just understand this, a lot of the stuff is still under development. We're going to be having a very busy holiday, I'm sure, pulling all this together. And I just want to be right up front with people that I know that this is a challenge for some people, and I know that this is financially, but also maybe scholastically, academically, it might be a challenge to get your hands wrapped around technology. We're really hoping to pull the team together and really try to put our best foot forward and really give this whole initiative our best effort. A lot of this will have to do with our attitude and staying positive. It's going to have to do with instructors being understanding when their students don't understand the technology and the extra help that they're going to have to provide. Being a little lax sometimes, maybe on due dates, and sometimes tanking it. And that didn't work. The app didn't work right, or the assignment didn't work. And I think that that's probably, if anything, it reflects what happens in our treatment plans. We set a goal, we start taking the steps, and it doesn't work. And we have to reset. And I think at worst, that's what we're going to learn from this particular situation. So for today's meeting, what I want you to do is, up on the screen here, I have a website that I created, which is essentially the agenda. And this link will be put online, and people can access it when they're watching the video. But if you go to that link, it brings you to a website, and this is our agenda. So I'd like each one of you to have that on your iPad. Okay, we're back. There we go. That's what this is about. Each one of the, I think each person got to the website in a slightly different way. So this is good. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight is just basically a review. And it covers this handout that, have you got this?
No, I do not. You passed on to that.
Yes, sir.
In there.
And it's the, why is KVCC doing this? And what you'll see on this agenda too is I've done some research, and I found a couple of articles that had to do with not necessarily specifically the iPad, which is what the next part of I'll be talking about is about, but about mobile technology and mental health. This is an emerging part of the mental health field. If you're out there in the field right now, you might come across it a little bit, but it's an emerging part of our field as agencies are strapped with the number of staff that they have and the geographic area that they need to cover. And in a state like Maine, we're looking at miles and miles of territory that individual agencies have to cover, as you as a case manager are traveling out into the rural areas of the state and providing mental health services in all of those areas. In general, not just in terms of mental health, and not just in terms of case management, but all the mental health services, psychiatric work, psychotherapy, all of the other mental health services are tasked with this same problem. How do we bring our services where our clients are? Particularly if those clients may be not only rural, but they lack the funds for transportation, or they don't have reliable transportation. And we catch on to that philosophy. Mobile technology really addresses the philosophy that we have in psychosocial rehab of going to where the client is. Now, what if we can bring the technology to where the client is? And that will enable us to be more effective, we can be more responsive, our record keeping is better, and we can provide those services on the spot. So mobile learning, mobile technology is on its way, and it's an emerging aspect of what our field is about. Now the second part, and this is a review again from that first meeting, why did we pick the iPad versus any other? And the first thing, why did we pick one device versus just letting people come and bring their own, whatever they want to bring? Now, the philosophy of that, I'm going to use something that we all know about as an analogy, and that's Blackboard. All of us have had experience, good and bad, with Blackboard. And I will tell you, as good or bad as your experience with Blackboard has been, if instructors were allowed to use different learning management systems, like you come to my class and I'm using Blackboard, you go to Wendy's class and you're using Canvas, or you go to somebody else's class and you Desire to Learn. These are all different kinds of learning management systems. Imagine how crazy that would be. So picking one technology is important because that allows all of us to be on the same page. We're using the same apps, we're looking at the same interface, and we also are addressing the same problems. As problematic as Blackboard has been, at least we all know it. At least we have technicians that are expertise at it, and we can go in and we can solve the problems together. And when we solve a problem for one person using Blackboard, we inadvertently solve the same problem for somebody else who may also be having that same problem. So that's why we picked one device, that we want everybody to have the same one. Now, why did we pick the iPad? And I'm going to say that we picked the iPad for two reasons. Well, for many reasons, but two main reasons. First of all, unequivocally, it's the more reliable, more dependable, it has the most apps, and it's the most supported by the industry, and particularly in the emerging aspects of the industry. Apple has been extremely active in working with industries such as mental health and healthcare and positioning their product ahead of others. So there's that piece. The second lies in what's happening at KD already that we're building on. Based on some grants that we've had before in the past, we had built an infrastructure here at KDCC around iPad due to other initiatives that were going on campus, such as the Maine is IT program that has a very strong Mac OS and iOS development part to it. So we're building on existing knowledge, so there are people here on campus who have expertise in this operating system using these devices. We have the IT is training themselves up. We actually have the Maine is IT program. There are individuals going through our technology program who are becoming iOS certified, OS 10 certified, Mac certified, these kind of things. This is becoming part of our infrastructure here at KD. That allows us to better support the platform. We do not have that with Android, nor do we have that with the Windows portable OS. And so the reason for going with one device is so that we're all dealing with the same problems and successes. The reason why we're going with this one is because we're already good at it. And we anticipate that because of the kinds of efforts that Stephen Larshall and his team and what we're doing and what IT is doing and what's happening in trades and technology with their program is there are many, many programs at KD that are looking at using the same device. Again, the same single device and the same Apple device. They're using it in the physical therapy, is using it, occupational therapy is using it, nursing is looking at it. There's all kinds of initiatives that are going on campus, and we anticipate this will just continue to grow. And so, in essence, that's sort of a run-through of what I was what we talked about the last time we were here. And so let me check with the agenda here and see where we're at. Okay, another thing that that I want to make clear as we're starting to look at the actual expectations that we have, or the expectations you can have coming into the spring, is to talk about the what we have told instructors. Basically, we've had some meetings with all of the instructors in communication with them, and for every online class that you're teaching, that you're taking, the instructor has to come up with 5 separate apps or applications of the iPad technology in that class. So 5 lesson plans need to be modified, or 5 uses of the iPad are embedded in that class. So each class is going to use it. So no matter which class you have, you're going to have apps that you're going to have to download and get for that particular class. Now the face-to-face classes have a much less pressure. They have to come up with 2. They come up with 2 applications in class, the use of iPads in class for activities or presentations or whatever. Now, the little caveat to that is, as many of you know, the lesson plan format that is typically and almost always associated with the online versions of these classes, you will often see those same lesson plans in the face-to-face classes. So in the example I'm going to show today, we're going to look at interviewing and counseling and what we've done in that class. The 5, and in this case actually 8 applications that we picked for the online version of that class are also in the face-to-face class because they're embedded in assignments. So the face-to-face class is going to have the same 5 from the online version of the class will probably translate over to the face-to-face class. That won't always happen, but it certainly has happened in interviewing and counseling because the lesson plans are identical. So the changes I made in the online class went over to the face-to-face class. So you're going to be using this device. That's part of what we're doing, and we don't want you just to buy this and then you're using it to read your book. That's not worth the money. What we're doing is really trying to leverage the device and take advantage of all the apps that are available out there and change our learning process and transform it, really. And so that's going to be the expectation coming in. You're going to have to download at least 5 apps for your online classes and at least 2 for your in-class classes. Okay, the next part of our agenda here is getting your device and to set some standards with that. We have been in a lot of conversations with people that are struggling with the notion here of what we're doing. And so we have been, sort of modified our expectations. What we're asking you to do, essentially, to tell you the truth, is to buy the best iPad you can possibly afford. And so, that said, we do have to make sure that you have at least an iPad 2, which is the 2nd generation iPad, which has a camera. You're going to be using the camera. There's no doubt. You're going to be taking pictures and doing movies. So you need the camera. It also has to have the capability to do AirPlay, which is to send your video to the projector, and it has to have the ability to do AirDrop, which is going to be the way we're going to encourage to do handouts. An instructor will walk in, they'll have the article that they want you to read, they'll either have it online for you already or they'll have it on their iPad, and they'll make it available to you. You'll all turn on AirDrop, and accept the document, and it will digitally be transferred to your device as well, and you'll be able to read the document. So rather than handing things out in class, we're going to be doing that. So you have to look for an iPad that has those particular characteristics to it, which is anything from the 2nd generation iPad on. These are pretty old iPads. You know, in terms of technology, they've been around for a while. And all the way back to everything else except the very first iPad, which did not have a camera and was not capable of AirPlay, or none of that technology was developed yet. So that's the iPad that we want you to get. I have put on the agenda that you can see you can see links. I created live links on the agenda to the Apple Store, to the refurbished Apple Store, to Amazon, and we'll continue to build this list to try and hook you up with your iPad. If you need somebody to sit down with you, we can just do that with you and find the one that will work with you. We want to make sure that you find something without breaking the bank and getting yourself in any financial trouble, and finding a way to get that done. Now, all that said, we do have some special circumstances that we're trying to address, and we have some solutions. We're not quite sure how these solutions will work, but I've been made aware that the library is going to be purchasing a number of iPads in a case, and they're going to be placing those in the Learning Commons up at out front. Those iPads will be available for people to use in class if they forgot their iPad, or if it got broke temporarily and they're getting it fixed, and so that the class can continue as it's going. We also have an understanding that there are some people who are in their last semester at KV. They're just taking their last mental health classes, and we know that this is a sizable investment for just those 2 classes, and we're going to try and work with those individuals on a case-by-case basis to get assignments done and to find a way to do that without having to buy an iPad. The other group is going to be again addressed by these iPads that we have available at the library on both campuses, I guess, is those individuals who just because of their circumstances have to wait until they get their financial aid refund. Let's say you're in your first semester and you're waiting for that financial aid refund to come in, and that's the only way. And we're going to ask you really to try hard to make that happen so that you don't have to do this, but if that's what you're left with and that's your circumstance, we'll try to work with you during that period of time between the start of class and when you get that financial aid check that you're going to use to buy your iPad, and work with you the same way we would work with individuals who are in their last semester, and try and help you do that. Now again, we are expecting that you're going to make best effort. This is not something that we're going to just let go. This is becoming part of our culture, and we've also worked really hard to offset some of those costs with the book selections that we're looking at, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. We have a question though.
So I've had some students ask, so if we're going to consider having them be able to use the Learning Commons for borrowing, is it going to be set up so they can only borrow for the class day, or would it be able to be checked out for a 7-day period like they can do right now? And that's more of a question for you.
The question was, if that didn't get through the mic, that Wendy asked whether or not let's say it's just for the class, they can go to the Learning Commons, get the iPad, come in and do the class, and then bring the iPad back. Ideally, that's what we want, because then the iPad remains available for other people. But we have Stephen La Rochelle here. We have some individuals that they really are looking at a prescribed period of time. We have to be careful how many go out, because we have a limited amount. So it has to really be something that you talk with us about if we're going to look at an extended period of time. So let's talk to Steve about that. What does Steve think about the extended period of loan that might be entailed from the Learning Commons?
Yes, we can accommodate that. Whatever the extended loan period needs are, we should be able to accommodate.
And now we don't know what this volume of students who are going to be in this in-between, whether it's only one class and that they have an assignment that requires the iPad. So I had some students just ask, well, how restrictive is that going to be? And I only, check it out at 8, and then when I leave at 5, I have to return it.
Yeah, our policy is to meet the needs of faculty and students to whatever extent we can. So that's the perception we start with. The only possible limiting factor Mark said, if we just run out at some point, then we need to buy more.
So it seems the answer is that the iPads will be available for people for as much as they need them, and for them to use that time judiciously and bring it back so that other people can use it. So if you have a project, and let's say you're going to do a film project and you borrow it on Monday, but you're really not planning on meeting with the person to do the film project until Thursday, well, borrow it on Thursday so that somebody can use it between Monday and Wednesday. And so that will be the way that we're going to deal with that particular situation. So understand, we are aware, we are cognizant of the challenge that people that they're facing with this, and we're trying to come up with some creative solutions. And certainly, like Steve said, if we start running out, we're going to try and buy more. What we'd really like is just to have them all for you, right? Like you had your geography textbook in high school and just got handed your book. We can't do that, but we'll try to get as many as we can so that we can fill in the niches that are there. But I guess what we're really shooting for is that you start to perceive this as an investment in your education. One of the things that has been a challenge for me, for example, is it's interesting to see, and not to focus on anything negative or anything, but some of the feedback that I've gotten is a negative feeling about this whole project, about the cost of the device, and yet we make you buy textbooks that are really, really expensive. Mm-hmm. And I've never had somebody come up to me and say, "Why are you making us buy this textbook?" My intro to psych book is now $280, and brand new. And you can get a workable iPad for this program for $280 easy. And that's just one book for one class, and we sell hundreds of those every semester. One of the things that we have done, and Wendy has been very, very critical and pinnacle in doing this, is she's been reviewing each one of the courses and the textbooks that we're using, that we have been using. And I believe we are done, except for one class. We're still waiting. The other Wendy, Wendy Warren, is doing research to replace the textbook in vocational aspects of disability, and that's a big one too. That's a big textbook. And but through a number of resources, for example, David Duro found a substance abuse book for $9.99. Is it $9.99 or maybe $14? Used to be like $60. He found one, and you just get the Kindle app on your device, and you can read that book. So that's the book for the substance abuse class. And a number of books we actually found through ebooks in EBSCO, which is a subscription that we have through the library, that there are textbooks in there, and you'll be able to read them on your device. You'll stream them almost like a movie. You can just play them on your device and read your book that way for no cost at all. So I believe, is there any that we're looking at that have a cost to them?
Only little cost, like I think of interviewing and counseling, Mark had worked to have no book. And so trying to say, well, there are some Kindle books that if someone wanted to have a textbook as supplemental material for certain concepts, there were a few Kindle books I found between $5 and $10 each. So trying to say, to have a variety of options. Some individuals say, well, I would love to have a paper book in my hand. Yeah. Well, some of those Kindle versions are based on paper versions, and then it would be up to the student to make that choice to go and purchase the paper version and have it mailed right to their house. So really trying to be thoughtful about having those options for students.
So what we're looking at is potentially that the books, that there are going to be some classes, let's say the interviewing and counseling class, that in general, you're in my video. Move that way. Go.
I had to testify.
That in the interviewing and counseling class, for example, there may be a book, but they may be optional. Like there's going to be a selection, and even those books which are optional, you don't have to buy them, therefore zero cost. They'll have even those books are really, really cheap, $5, $10. I believe if my calculation from when I originally came up with this idea, my calculation is that the total cost of books in the program was roughly around $360. Take $360 off your debt, off your bill, and maybe that's your budget for your iPad, and then you're at a break even. This is money that you would have spent anyway. As far as the apps are concerned, those can sometimes cost money. Those have been extremely cheap. Apps tend to be anywhere from 99 cents to $2 and stuff. There's some that we're looking at that are a little bit more expensive than that, but we're being judicious about making sure that we understand that we're trying for that offset. In the interviewing and counseling class, I believe there's only one app. It's the Explain Everything, which is $2 and...
Yeah, I think I just got it for $4.50.
$4.50. That's it. All the rest of the apps are 100% free. So the content and interactions you're getting out of those particular apps are at no cost.
What app was that, Mark?
What's that?
What app was that for the interviewing and counseling?
I'm going to show them to you.
Okay.
So part of what's on the agenda here today. Okay, so that's a little bit about the cost and options for buying your iPad and where to get them. Now, the part I want to talk about now is as we're looking at these different things that we're going to be doing in class, and like I said, the last part of this presentation here is going to be a demonstration showing you interviewing counseling. You're going to have to establish some online accounts. Now, you know you're going to have an Apple account, an iTunes account. Once you get your device, you can set your device up, and Steve has some videos that we have on there. And that gives you access to a number of things. Gives you iTunes and the App Store, which is what you have to get your apps from. All of them come from the App Store. And it gives you iTunes U, which is iTunes University. And that's an app itself, and you download that app and put it on your computer. And you get the iWorks apps. And what I mean by that is not for your device. If you buy a new device with at least 64 gigs of memory on it, you get the iWork application. And you get a word processor called Pages, you get a presentation software called Keynote, and you get like an Excel spreadsheet software called Numbers. And you get that free on your, well, you paid for it, but it's in your device already. It's already preloaded in your device. If you buy a used device, you have to buy those for $9.99 each is the cost of each one of those apps you download. However, with your Apple ID, you can go on a regular computer, go to iCloud.com and use Pages, Numbers, and Keynote for free. It's an online version of those applications. That's something, in fact, it's kind of an alternative to Google Docs, except it's way better. It's way better in terms of how it works with Blackboard and whatnot, because out of the iWorks website, again, this is not on your device, this is on a regular computer. When you go online, you can create the documents, it saves them all, and you can make folders and put them all in there and save them, and then you can send them to yourself or send them to Dropbox, and then upload those onto Blackboard directly. And so that's a really, really cool free service, all of those Office apps for free available to you. The second thing that you're going to have to get is a Google account or a Gmail account. You may already have one, but you want to get the Google account because Google now owns YouTube. And if you're ever asked to do a video, rather than worrying about how to get that video sent to us, what we're going to have you do is upload it to your own YouTube channel that you're going to have specific of your own and send us the link to it. So when you have your video ready, you've done a counseling session, or you've interviewed somebody, or you've in the crisis class, you've done your play, you've done your presentation on crisis. You load that up to YouTube, it's there for the world to see, and you get the link from it, and that's what you send your instructor. We click on the link and we go watch it on YouTube the same way everybody else would, and then we don't have to worry about all that file stuff. No files are getting shipped around. You don't have to worry about that. It's all being done on YouTube. And if you're editing your video in iMovie, it has a button. And if you have your device connected to your YouTube account, you just like send to my YouTube, and it automatically compresses that file and sends it up to YouTube in the format that it needs it. And it can be very seamless and very enjoyable to get that done. So you're going to need a Gmail account. You're going to set that up and set up your YouTube channel. And there's instructions certainly on the web for that. The next one is Adobe. This is a little off here, but it's something that we discovered as we were making our way through textbooks. Is Adobe? They're the people that make Photoshop and Dreamweaver, the web applications and stuff like that. Illustrator, and they make all these really great apps. They make all kinds of really great creative apps for the iPad as well, all of them for free. Stephen Larochelle has been playing around with a lot of those, and he's an expert if you're interested in looking at drawing apps and photo manipulation apps that are available for free. Really some fun and very creative stuff. They also create Acrobat, which is the PDF creator and viewer. And they kind of own that format. They manage and have been for decades been the principal manager of digital rights in the ebook world. So that means that some of the books that we are going to have you read from our EBSCO ebook services are protected under the digital rights management system that Adobe has. So you have to register yourself as an Adobe user in order to read those particular books. It's not a paid service, it's nothing, it's just how Adobe collects that information for whatever purposes they use that for, and for them to, so you have to have that account with Adobe, and in the agenda just click on that link and it brings you right to the place to create that account. And once you have that, you'll be able to read those books and get by the digital rights management software that's protecting the content in that book. The final part, and this has really a lot to do, it has to do with security of your own information and making sure you don't lose it. But it also has to do with the fact that we would like you to get 64 gigabytes worth of memory on your device, but if you have less than that, you're probably going to have to be pretty creative about how you manage what's on there. You start doing videos and recordings, and then you have a couple, you have Thanksgiving pictures on there, whatever else you're using your device for, that memory can get full. So you want to have a cloud account. You want to have the ability to offload some of your content from your device and put it on the cloud, and then just go get it when you need it. Now I'm going to tell you that whenever you get an app, and this is something that Kelly and I were talking about just the other day, whenever you get an app and you're using it on your device, you can delete that app when you're done. Because it's still in your iTunes. If you ever need it again, you can just go download it again. You never lose the fact that you purchased that app or anything. It's in your cloud. So you don't have to keep all these apps on your device all the time. You can offload those, and that leaves more room on your device. So the only apps that you have on there are the ones you're actively using. This applies to all those games. Let's say your kids put games on there. Those load up all kinds of memory. Just throw them out. Just delete them, because you still have them associated with your account. If you ever want to go get them again, you can just download them again. Very, very cool. So there are there's all kinds of iCloud accounts, but there's all kinds of cloud accounts, but I want to talk about 3 of them. One of them comes with your Apple ID. You get iCloud. When you're setting up your device, you can have the iCloud application added to the desktop of your device. And when you click on that, it gives you a folder for Pages, a folder for iMovie, a folder for each one of the apps. And you can store those, whenever you're making something, you can choose to have it stored on the cloud instead of stored on your device. So again, you're saving that space. So if you're doing a bunch of pages documents on your device, just keep putting them in the cloud. And so you're working on the cloud. Anybody who's had me in class, you'll notice I bring in my iPhone and I play my slideshows off my iPhone. Those slideshows are not on my phone. They're in my iCloud account and I'm streaming them to my device. They're not occupying space on my, so I can go onto any device and get my presentations. And if I just sign into my account, I can get all my presentations for classes and show them to you. So that's iCloud. The other one that I've mentioned already is called Dropbox. Now there's a free version and there's a paid version. So we're kind of looking at the free version. The free version is, again, it's an app that you download. You sign up and you download the app onto your desktop and you can manage folders. You just build folders in there and you can manage it just like you would manage a little hard drive, and you can store stuff on there. You just send it to iCloud. And what's going to happen when you're working in an app, there's a little icon. Again, this is something for face-to-face training here when the time comes, but there's a little icon associated with a lot of apps that says share or send or something like that. It's a little square with an arrow sticking up off the top of it. You click that and it's going to give you a number of options. If you have downloaded and registered Dropbox onto your device, Dropbox will be one of the options there. And you can just, right from the application, you can say send to Dropbox, and it sends it right to your Dropbox and puts it on the cloud for you. It's a backup, in case something happened to your device, and it's a way to take storage off of your device. The last one is an interesting one, is called OneCloud. And OneCloud is the cloud storage that comes with Office 365 from Microsoft. Now, you can get Pages and Numbers and Keynote, and you're going to be all set. Whenever you're submitting something, you turn them into PDFs and submit them. Anybody can read them. So you can use this device for other classes as well. Like if your anatomy and physiology class or whatever it is that you're taking, you can save your files as PDFs, and even people who don't have Pages can open those files. You can, however, if you really want, you like Word, you like Excel and PowerPoint, you can download those apps. I have them on my device and I use them all the time. And my word processor is Word, and it's the same file format, and I can send it to a PC and open it up and it looks exactly the same. So there's seamless there. Microsoft is very, very aggressive in their pricing structures for students right now. They're offering Office 365, I think it's called University, 365 University. For $75, you have the entire Office suite for, I think, 2 PCs.
2 PCs, 4 years.
And 4 portable devices you can install, and that could be a Mac, it could be a PC. You have everything that they produce for 4 years. That's it, $75, and you have your license for 4 years. You don't have to pay another penny for 4 years. On top of that, you get OneCloud, and OneCloud has 1 terabyte of offline storage. That's the highest of all of them. I doubt within those 4 years, unless you're doing a lot of movies, unless you're like in the cinema program, you're not going to be using up a terabyte worth of information. That's a lot of storage, and you can store anything on OneCloud. You can store Pages documents, not just Word files. You can store anything onto OneCloud. So those are things to consider too, is to look at those different options and to consider maybe getting that $75 package. And if you're going to be using a laptop and your iPad, or you have numerous computers or whatever that you're doing, it's a really good deal. I have Office 365 Professional, and it's I think 7 different PCs or laptops and an unlimited number of iPads or devices for $10 a month. So I pay $10.95 a month, and I pay that, and I have as many versions of that software as I need. So whichever one you want to go with, that's a great way to store material as well. So we're expecting you, as you're entering into the spring, to get ready. We'll be sending some emails about this to make sure everybody gets the idea here that you're going to have your Gmail account set up within the YouTube channel, and we have some, available. And I'm going to show you some stuff here in just a minute where it can help you with that. Your Adobe account, get that set up, and figure out a cloud storage. Start playing around with that. We're going to be playing around to see how people can manage their memory the best, and then I think we can have a really positive experience with that. So then the next part I'm going to talk about is going to be to do a demonstration of some material that we prepared already as an example of what you can have. But before we go to that, I think I want to have Wendy come up and talk a little bit about some of the initiatives, kind of because we have a captive audience here, to talk about some of the things that she's been doing unrelated to the M-Learning initiative. So, hold on.
All right. So I know most of you here in this room. So hi, Wendy St. Pierre. So some of the pieces that I'm doing on the program coordinator side is that I've been working on building relationships with some of the other colleges where our students might want to transfer to, and have done some updates on the transfer agreement between KVCC and University of Maine at Orono and their bachelor's degree program. So looking at adding some additional classes here that University of Maine Orono will accept, as well as adding a course to what KVCC is able to offer, which is looking at having us offer the Introduction to Social Work course, which has never been available as an option here before. And we'll be talking with Mark about where in the schedule we will be adding that, whether I had some students ask about it potentially becoming a summer course, which was an interesting question to consider. So we'll be looking at that. Certainly we'll be offering it for next fall for sure. And then also the mental health program has an advisory council, and the advisory council meets twice a year, and I'm currently looking for a student member for that advisory council. The next meeting for that council just got scheduled today for Wednesday, December 16th. So I'm looking for a student member to come and join us for that. And so just going through the list of what I want to talk about: the transfer agreements, the advisory council. I'm currently doing outreach to community organizations who hire MHRTCs who are looking to build collaborations with us. One, to help us work to improve our curriculum. Two, to help us feed students to them where they have job openings and looking for qualified applicants, and building those connections to look at how provisional students can have opportunities through them, as well as making sure that the students who are leaving with the full MHRTC certification have the tools they need to be able to be considered valued employees once they enter there. And I'll be continuing to look at the curriculum to add some pieces based on the feedback that I'm getting from them, to have what we offer in our classes feel more similar to what the employers are looking for when our graduates leave. So that was my update.
Yay. Standing ovation.
Oh, we need a new one now.
What? Uh-oh. I think it moved.
It's moving.
I'm sure when that hit the ground, it's just like loud. It just went through there. Sorry about that. I had the headphones on. So, okay, Steve now has control of of the screen here, and so what I want to do is, Steve, you could scroll all the way to the bottom here. If you see this this section right here, the demonstration. For those of you that have your iPad, now you may have already done this, but if you click on that, if you click the iTunes U, it says download iTunes U, and you click on that, it should give you this right here, which gives you the opportunity to go, and I want you to go ahead, if you do not have that loaded on your computer right now, I want you to download that and install it on your computer. Because we are going to take a look at the iTunes U courses that we have designed already. Okay? If you go back to the website, everybody, if you go back to the website, and you see it says MHGM Learning Initiative, click here. Click the here. This should bring you right into iTunes U, and you add the course. So the first course that I'm having you look at right now, and this is a little bit of change from the last time. When I first showed you the iTunes U courses, there was going to be a course, and there still is, a course in iTunes for every course in the mental health program. That's true. But in each one of those courses, I said there was going to be a collection of general apps. We've taken those general apps out of each one of the individual courses and we've located them all into one iTunes U course itself. What this does is it keeps me, if we add something new that we want to be all over the place, I don't have to go through each one of these courses and change every one of them. There's just one master class that holds a whole bunch of apps that I think you may find useful. And it's Steve, if you could go to the iTunes U course, the M-Learning, I'm going to add right there, and go to Posts. You can see all the apps here, these are materials. Go to Posts, and you'll look, just if you want to scroll through these, you see Welcome to M-Learning, iPad User Guide, Tutorials for your iPad, General Apps, Productivity and Office Apps, the Portfolio Resources, Writing Resources, In-Class Tools, Statistics and Math, Cloud Storage, Time Management. This is the research we've been doing so far. These are all apps. Let's take a look at, scroll down a little bit. Let's hit Statistics and Math. And here you have a number, not only of apps, but you have a number of resources as well. Up on top you have iCan Academy, a course on statistics. Then you have Statistics Visualizer and Visible. These are apps for taking statistical data and creating visual representations for your reports and whatnot. Then you have a graphing, you have two calculators. A graphing calculator that is like just about like a TI-83 graphing calculator. And then CalcBot, which is it's kind of an interesting, that's the one you write on, right? You just write 2 + 2 and it solves it for you right on the screen. It's very, very loud. And then you put like a square root over it and it solves it, and it's active, and it's a drawing app that will actually solve the problem that you draw on there. So Steve, if you could just click on Visible and see when you want to get an app, here's what it looks like. You'll click on the app that you want. You can see the app called Visible. Oh, go back, I'm not done yet. You can click the Visible. Right below that is a tutorial video on how to use Visible. And every time I've put an app, I'm trying to find a good video tutorial on how to use that app. So not only are we giving you the app directly, which you can download, if Steve clicks the Visible app, it'll actually go to, not that one. He clicks the Visible app.
The app or the web link?
The app. It said where the little lines are.
Yeah, I already have it installed, so that's why.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
It's going to the app.
Okay, it was opening the app. I'm sorry. If you click it and it's not installed, it'll go to iTunes U. It'll go to iTunes and it'll ask you to download the app. Sorry about that. So Steve right now, what he's doing is he's showing he's live manipulating data. He's actually taking data out. He's looking at specific things. This is data that he already has in there. He's adding, this is all one set of data that he's actively manipulating using the program called Visible. So imagine the kind of presentation you could do in class. You have your one data set and you can just start manipulating the data right there, right in front of people, just using the multi-touch device of the iPad. An incredible program. So I'm going to stop this recording for just a little bit and catch up with everybody here in the audience and make sure we're all on the same page before we go to the class.
I really like that.
Yeah. Okay, we're back, and we are experiencing the fun and enjoyment of dealing with our iPads. One of the things that we did discover is that make sure the screen that we were looking at. In fact, what we had is we had a couple of people who their operating system, the iOS, was not updated to 9.1 yet, so their iTunes U looked different than it did here. So we had to make sure we don't freak out. But what was really missing, he was not able to see the video. It was just the apps, the only thing. And what that indicates is that the iTunes U that he had on his system was outdated. It wasn't supporting anything but apps. It's probably the old iTunes U. When he updates his operating system, it'll probably update iTunes U, and he'll be able to see all the different kinds of links. The latest iTunes U is more like a learning management system. It's more, they're trying to become more like Blackboard, and you can load up anything. You can load up web pages and links to videos and whatnot. But the real thing that's really more advanced here is what I want to show up on the screen here is what is this going to look like when you're in Blackboard. So if you're taking interviewing and counseling, and that's the class I have here. I'll zoom in here. You'll see up here there's lesson 3, 4, and 5. This is 3 of the lessons, and this is not the current interviewing and counseling class. This is the future interviewing and learning class this coming spring. Lessons 3, 4, and 5 are 3 of, I think, 7 lessons right now that have iPad integration in them, and of course the practice sessions. So let's just go through these. I'm going to click on lesson 3, and this is going to bring me to lesson 3. This is the lesson that you would see in the class. I mean, not too different from the one that's currently in there. But if you scroll down, you go, it's the ALATA thing, if you're aware of that, attention, learning outcomes, into the teaching. But look at this right here. Look at what I've added. There's this little box, okay, that comes up, and it says iPad integration. Whenever you come across one of these boxes in your lesson plan, that means here's a place where we put an iPad app. We put it right into this lesson plan. This lesson, as you can see on the top, has to do with attending behavior. I found an app on body language called iBody Language. Now it's a free app. It's one of those just go check it out apps. In fact, I didn't really change the lesson plan very much except go look at this app and see if it makes any sense, and does whether someone has their hands like this, or whether they have their arms crossed, or whether they're leaning back from you or leaning forward to you. What is it, does that have any meaning? So, and it gives you the icon for the app for lesson 3. In this case, lesson 3. So you go down. The only thing that I actually changed in this in the assignment was in the lesson quiz. I asked for you to reflect on whether the app is useful or not. Does this app tell me something about body language, which is something that we do pay attention to when we're in the counseling. Now, if you look at this app, the way this works, when you come across one of these boxes and it says, there's an app here. You then go to iTunes U, and I'm going to do it just like I'm a student, and I go, oh, there's an iPad app that I have to get for this one. So I get out of here, and I go over to iTunes U. Let's see, get out of this. I go to iTunes U, and you can see I have all the classes right now. I'm going to find interviewing and counseling. Go to interviewing and counseling. and I go to the posts, and there's lesson 3. I click lesson 3, body language, and I go get the app. So you see it in the lesson plan, and then you go to iTunes U, and then you find lesson 3, and then you click and get the app. You can see that in what I did for this, what I have so far in lesson 3, lesson 4, lesson 5, lesson 6, lesson 9, and lesson 11, all right now have iPad apps associated with them. So if I go back to the course.
So is that course just in Blackboard? Is that you're mirroring what would be in Blackboard?
That's mirroring what would be in Blackboard right now.
We were looking for that in the iTunes U. That content is not in iTunes U. That
No.
content is in Blackboard.
Yep.
Which then says go to iTunes U to
Yep.
see this app. Thank you.
This icon right here, where it says iPad integration, that should be an indication, go to iTunes U. Every time you see that iPad integration icon, go to iTunes U and read what it says, and then go to iTunes U and go get the app. Okay? So we go back. Let's look at another lesson. We have lesson 4, a different application. Lesson 4 is about intentionality and open-closed questions. So we roll down here. There should have been additions to that. And here we have another iPad integration. Now this is a funny app. It's a really, really cool app with the stupidest icon I've ever seen in my life. It has nothing to do with parenting or little kids or anything. It's an app called Psychology Assessments. And it contains hundreds and hundreds of assessments that are used to evaluate mental illness, ADHD, Alzheimer's, alcohol and substance abuse. It has all of these assessments, these check-off that you can use. So here you have this whole set of assessments that you can then use when you're asking questions. In fact, we'll probably, looking at this kind of assignment, in class you could probably say, okay, I want you to conduct an interview with someone, and you're going to conduct an assessment on their substance abuse history. And you're going to ask questions in a way that you can fill out this form. You can complete this assessment. And then you can send that form to yourself in an email or as a PDF. That's a part of that app. Ignore the icon. It's a really silly icon. But it says iPad integration, iTunes U. I go to lesson 4, and there's the app. I can download the app right there. Let's carry on. Let's go back to, let's do lesson 5. This is just the last example from a lesson plan. Lesson plan, this is on client observation skills. You go down. Now this one isn't in the content area. It's not in the teaching area. It's in the assessment area. This is one of the examples where we're going to be using an app. You're going to be creating an assignment. And this is one of those YouTube videos that we were talking about. In this particular example, I'm having you use 2 apps. I'm having you use Keynote to do a presentation like you would do for PowerPoint. You're then going to export that Keynote into another program called Explain Everything, which is one that we had talked about earlier. Explain Anything can import the Keynote, set up slides, and then you can do a voiceover. You can record your voice, and you can actually draw right on there's all kinds of notations that you can do like you're doing a presentation. And you can record your voice, save that as a movie, and upload it to YouTube. Now, as I say that, I say it like it's really simple, right? In a way it is. In a way it's going to be, you want to start working on this assignment pretty early, and we're going to try and help you with it as much as we can, for sure. But see, you have these 2 apps that need to work together. You create your presentation in Keynote, like you would a PowerPoint presentation. You export it into Explain Everything, and you can record your voice. Now, if I go to Lesson 5, here, I'm back into iTunes U. I go to Lesson 5, and there's Keynote with a tutorial. Explain Everything with a tutorial video, and the YouTube app. You don't really need the YouTube app. That's just something you can put on there. But you can actually configure the YouTube app to go right to your channel, so you can make sure that all your videos are uploading. And the last example I want to give you is, of course, everybody's favorite, the practice sessions. Webex. Now, the chuckles are ready. From its inception, Webex has not been a good program to use on your laptops or anything like that. It's been very difficult to configure. I'm going to tell you that this is going to change, because using Webex on your iPad is way easier. All the audio and video are automatically configured, so you don't have to do any of that background stuff. It simply opens up the app, and you can get right in there. So here we see, this is the iPad integration for the Webex app. We go to iTunes U. We go right down to the bottom, practice sessions here down at the bottom. You click there, and we have the Webex app. I install that. I also have the rest of the information here is this sign up for Webex. This is making sure you still have to go and get an account. If you click on that, it brings me right to the how to log in and create an account at Webex, Cisco. This is a Webex integration on the iPhone. It's the same thing. This is a PDF that explains how that whole thing works. And then there's tutorial videos for Webex Mobile. And it's funny because the character's name is Mark. So Mark's Webex Journey, they call it, this series of videos that you can look at. And a tutorial on the desktop version, because remember, you still have to use the desktop version, and you can do it on your iPad, but you have to go to the web version of your Webex account to manage your recordings. I do believe, however, that's going to change in the next year. There's a new agreement with Cisco and Apple, and they're supposed to make the apps more robust, so you can do everything through the app. And so I think that's coming. It's just not there yet. So I've included tutorials for both how to use the app itself, but also how to manage your recordings and manage your online account. So what I've tried to show here with this demonstration is the integrated nature of the lesson plan that you're going to find in Blackboard, and the indication in there. That's kind of like your main place. You're sitting there, and just like before, nothing has changed. You're in Blackboard, and you're going along, you're doing your assignments, and all that you need to do to complete the class, and you're making your way through a lesson plan, and you get an iPad integration icon that comes up. Oh, okay, I need to go to iTunes U and get that app, because I have to use it for this assignment, I have to use it for this class, or I have to use it for this content. So you go and download that app, and then you're ready to go and follow the instructions from that point on. So not a lot has changed on the Blackboard end. We're just adding this other resource from iTunes U. In addition to the apps, you're also, this is going to be part of Blackboard too. We'll have a section in Blackboard for this. You will also find the links to any textbooks. Those will be right at the beginning. Or, let's say, for example, when I talked to Wendy Warren about what she's doing with vocational aspects of disability, she thinks that she's going to replace the textbook with a series of articles and other resources. So rather than having one big textbook, like even on your iPad, she's just gonna put the articles right in the lesson plan. So it's gonna be kind of like some of the other classes you take that don't have a textbook. They just have articles in them. But you'll just click, those you'll get those in the lesson plan. Those won't be in iTunes U. But the books, like when we've selected a book, we'll give you a way to get that book. It'll be either in the lesson plan or in Blackboard, or it'll be in iTunes U. But we'll make sure that that's pretty clear. But that'll be another thing that you need to go outside of Blackboard to get and download to your device. And so that's the integration. This is examples of what you're going to see. This is still in its infancy right now. There's a number of instructors that were working on getting that information to me and Wendy, so we can upload and make it all look right on the lesson plans. The lesson plans are also being revised. The 3 lesson plans that I just showed you, I added other content. You know, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, geez, I missed something, or I found a video that was really cool. I mean, and Wendy's certainly going to be going through over the Christmas break. She's going to be going through the lesson plans and updating stuff, updating the material, not only just for the iPad, but to make the content more robust, and in response to some of the agencies that we've been talking to, what they would like to see us emphasize and add to our courses, so that you're getting the very best. So that's it for today. I hope that those who were not able to come to this meeting get a lot out of this, and please send us questions. If you're worried about something or if you want a one-on-one tutorial on how to do this, a walkthrough, I'm sure what I saw here with the few people that are here is, once you do it, you're like, oh, okay, looking at it's one thing, but once you put your finger on these things and have somebody standing next to you and like, okay, press here, do this, and then it starts to make some intuitive sense. And so we're here for you to do that. So make sure that you get in touch with us about this, and also about any other questions about buying your iPad. If you're worried that you got the right or the wrong one, or anything, make sure you come and see us about that, and let's make this a success. So thank you for your time. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for listening and watching, and I will see you later.